Well, I'll tell you, just a personal thing. Ronnie Hawkins said to mention to you that if you should ever come up here, he's got a nice secret hideaway for you.
I wonder if he's still living in the same place. I had a great time last time.
No, he sold that particular farm, and he's living at another farm at this particular point.
Well, I'd certainly give him a call when I was up there.
Yeah. Tell me, John, let's talk about Walls and Bridges for a moment. I understand the album took roughly 6 weeks to put together?
Yeah, 6 weeks in the studio, 8 weeks from start to getting it into the shops in some of the... I know it's not out there yet, but it's nearly out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I'm not more than 8 weeks in the studio at a time, you know, because I find myself getting bored after 8 weeks, you know.
Are you one of those people that feel if you can't get it in the first few takes, it's perhaps not worth it, or...
Yeah, I hate going over and over a song, you know.
Uh-huh.
Because you get to hate it, the musicians get to hate it, and it begins to sound stiff, you know. I like to catch myself and the musicians at that point just before they're going to get bored, when they're still interested in it because it's a new song. Mm-hmm. And just before you go into that bit where it's, well, let's start from scratch and change the whole format. If it gets into that, I tend to drop it and have and either give the song away or do it the next album.
John, how do you go about deciding exactly who you want on the LP? Do you feel who would be best on that particular cut, or do you like to use people for, say, an entire LP?
Yeah, I like to use the same musicians for a whole album. I like to augment them with different people, but basically I like to get people that I've worked with before, if possible, because then they know what I'm talking about, you know, if I'm trying to explain myself to them. And also I feel more relaxed if I'm with friends, you know.
Right.
And if they've played together before, it's the next best thing to having a permanent group.
Was it a bit of a personal favor, perhaps, that Harry Nilsson and Elton decided to do the album with, or come on some of the cuts with you?
Well, it was almost by accident. I was producing Harry Nilsson's album, Pussycat, out now in your local store, folks. And we were hanging out together. Yes. And we wrote a song together. Mm-hmm. And so I put it on my album, and Harry, of course, wanted to sing it because he'd been part of it, so he sang the harmony. Mm-hmm. And with Elton, I'd been introduced to Elton maybe 8 months ago by a mutual friend, Ringo, and another guy, Tony King from Apple. And we got on fine together, you know. Mm-hmm. And he just popped into New York on his way through and walked in the studio and said, "Hey, can I put some piano on that?" And I said, "Sure, you know, go ahead." So he runs in, plays piano, and then I said, "Look, while you're here, do you want to sing harmony?" He said, "Sure," and he sang the harmony, and that's on the single, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. And then he told me he was going to record Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds for a single.
Right.
And he asked me would I go to Caribou and sing it with him. So I said, sure, you know, it'll be a pleasure. So I went down there and sang that. And that's the way it goes. And it's good fun, you know, because people spark each other off, you know.
Do you have any personal feeling on where you like to record, John? Obviously, the new album is done in New York. How are your feelings about going up into the Colorado hills where the air is clean and the sky is still blue?
When I was with Elton, I was only there for 2 days. I couldn't breathe. It was so high up, you know, I was nearly fainted. Oh. Just trying to sing Lucy in the Sky was killing me. I guess you'd have to be there a week and relax first. Mm-hmm. I thought about it, and I might do it one time, but I'm a bit of a mole, you know. If I find a place that I'm comfortable in, I know all the people around me, including the engineers and the people at the door, you know, I tend to stay in one place. And the record plant in New York, I feel very comfortable there, so I tend to stay there a lot. Although with Harry's album, we did it in the West Coast.
Do you feel, John, that you're bothered as much on the streets as a John Lennon solo performer as opposed to the days of the Beatles?
It's never like, it'll never be the same again, and once is enough, thank you very much.
Yes.
As being a Beatle and all that, you know, we couldn't even go to the movies or go out to dinner, right? We spent our lives indoors. Yeah. But now I love it, you know. I mean, people just say hi or, you know, what's cooking or something, and a few people ask for autographs, but mainly they just sort of wave or shake your hand, and I get about and I go to eat, and I'm enjoying all the things I couldn't do for 10 years, you know.
Mm-hmm. I noticed, John, on the new album, you've done an old Lee Dorsey tune, Yeah Yeah, and you've used your son Julian on drums.
Oh, yeah.
Was that kind of a coincidence because he was visiting you at the time, or?
Oh, yeah, that was pure coincidence, because as I told you, I can't leave the country because the immigration thing, so I have to bring him over here when I want to see him. Mm-hmm. And he just loved the studio, you know. He's 11 and he loves old Beatle records, but he likes Elton and who's that other guy likes? I don't know. He likes a lot of the current stuff, you know.
I see.
And he was so thrilled to be in the studio to see where it happened. He'd been in when he was younger, but he didn't remember.
Right.
And he was banging away on the drums, on the pianos, the organs, so we sneakily recorded him. And I was just banging away Ya Ya, which is a simple song, right?
Certainly.
So I thought, he doesn't even know he's on it yet. I'm going to send him the album today.
Is Julian ever bothered, John, because of having obviously a very famous father?
Well, because he doesn't know anything different, you see.
Ah.
You know, I mean, if you are the son of, I guess you're lumbered with it, you know.
Certainly.
He's very normal in the nicest sense of the word. And I think that's probably due to his mother, who's sort of, you know, we made sure he went to ordinary schools, you know, and mixed with ordinary kids. So I think he'll survive it as well as you can survive being the son of Dracula or whatever.
John, if I'm getting too personal here, you stop me. But I just said I heard a rumor, as we all hear rumors, that perhaps there was a reuniting of yourself and Yoko.
Well, in one way, we never parted, you know. And I think we're going through some kind of change that many couples go through. And my glib answer to that is we're just good friends, you know. And we speak to each other every day, so, you know, it's hard to describe because it is a bit personal, but that's about all I can say about it, really.
Yeah, I was going to comment that it's rough enough, I think, for any couple to be married otherwise with the incredible pressures that the two of you would have.
Yeah, well, we did have sort of extraterrestrial pressure on us, yeah.
Speaking of those things, how about telling me about your flying saucer ordeal?
It wasn't an ordeal, it was a great high, actually.
What happened exactly, John?
Well, I was hanging around, and okay, they're giving me the wind-up, so I'll make this the last story.
Okay.
I was just standing around one evening looking out of a window, and I looked up to my left, and there about 100 foot away was this sort of thing, you know, with a red light on top and sort of ordinary-looking electric light bulbs around the bottom of it, flashing one after the other in rotation. I'm standing there thinking, oh, it must be a helicopter. And then I realized it was making no noise. And then I thought, oh, it must be a blimp, a balloon or something. Then I realized it was too low. It was lower than the rooftops. I thought, they're not allowed to put balloons that low.
Right.
And it was really very low. I could have hit it with a stone if I'd thrown it. And then it dawned on me, well, a little voice in the back of me was saying all the time, it's a UFO. And then another voice was saying, you must be crazy, it's got to be a balloon or something. But it wasn't a balloon at all.
Did you get any pictures?
The other thing was, it was just sort of coasting around very quietly, not a noise out of it, and it was going about, looked like 30 miles an hour, you know, and it just sort of tripped around. It looked like it was on a tourist trip.
Right.
And it just tripped off down the East River and over the Brooklyn Bridge.
John, just to wrap it up, and just finally, and my personal feeling is, I hate to ask the question, but I guess for the listeners,
Sure.
Beatles reunion, everybody's talking about it. And
I wonder when you're going to get to that one.
Well, I didn't want to, but I felt...
Mind answering that question anyway. Listen, with all this immigration business, I mean, the others were getting a bit of a problem too, you know. Paul and George had quite a problem getting in sometimes. The four of us haven't even sat in a room together for 4 years. I've seen Ringo and Paul together. I've seen Paul separately, and I've seen George separately, but mainly I spoke to him on the phone. So if you can imagine those circumstances, we don't really have a chance to discuss anything like that.
Right.
Anything's possible, but it's as I said in the Ray Coleman article, if you say it's possible, it comes out that yes, they're going to get together. If you say no, it sounds like a negative and they can't stand each other. So anything's possible, and we all get on fine, and you never know, you know, and we just haven't had time to get around to that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, John, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to call us.
It's a real pleasure, and thanks for playing the album.
Okay, and could you just hold on the line for 1 second, and we'll be with you, okay?
I will.
Okay, bye-bye.